Let's start. Q Start, 2021, 9. Page 44 Number 1. The interviewer was polite and asked Julie what she could do and told her what the job entailed and what the salary would be. Julie's hopes started to rise and she began to think that he viewed her as the right person for the job, so she was not prepared for the shock that came at the end of the interview. Julie. He rose from his chair, extended his hand and thanked her for coming, but regretted that he did not feel that she was suitable for the job he had in mind. Julie felt deflated. She could only just manage thank you and goodbye in return. She hardly looked to the left or to the right as she walked through the reception on the way out, though she did manage to smile in response to the receptionist's goodbye. The disappointment made her feel close to tears. Page 44 Number 2. The ability to learn something new is based on the general state of mind of a human being. It does not depend on special talents, nor does it operate only in special fields, such as science, art, music, or architecture. But when it does operate, there is an undivided and total interest in what one is doing. Recall, for example, the kind of interest that a young child shows when he is learning to walk. If you watch him, you will see that he is putting his whole being into it. Only this kind of wholehearted interest will give the mind the energy needed to see what is new and different, especially when the latter seems to threaten what is familiar, precious, secure, or otherwise dear to us. Page 45 Number 4. Many people I've met say they never write letters or anything at all because they've learned that they always make mistakes. Communication is not like cooking, where you only get one chance to get it right. In cooking, there is a recipe to follow and the food comes out bad if you stray from it. What those people I met didn't know until I told them this is that nobody gets it right the first time, or the second, or the third. Everybody needs to write and revise, then rewrite and revise again, and keep that process up until finally it's as good as it's going to get. The secret to writing letters, speeches, or any planned communication is to work at it until you have revised the whole thing at least 7 times. The first draft of almost anything, letter, essay, speech, document, is never going to be your best work. Personal letters may be the exception in some cases, but even they often need to be rewritten before mailing. Quality comes with rewriting. Page 46 Number 5. David Dunning, a psychologist at Cornell University, uses anosognosia as a metaphor to explain the research he's done on ignorance. Cornell David Dunning. In a series of studies, he and his colleague Justin Kruger tested a group of undergraduates in such skills as logical reasoning, grammar, and humor. Justin Kruger. They then showed each participant his results and asked him to estimate how he fared compared to others. The people who did well on the exams estimated their rank accurately. No great surprise there. What is surprising is that those who didn't do well on the exams were convinced they did. They weren't dissembling. They simply were unable to assess their competence, or as Dunning, in an interview with the filmmaker Errol Morris, put it, we're not very good at knowing what we don't know. Errol Morris Dunning. Page 46 Number 6. The selfing bias affects many people's evaluations of not only themselves as individuals but also the groups of which they are members. For example, in one early study, Haystorf and Cantrell examined individuals' judgments of penalties committed during a football game between Princeton and Dartmouth. Haystorf, Cantrell, Princeton, Dartmouth. Students at these schools viewed a film of the game and counted the number of penalties committed by both teams. Princeton students saw the Dartmouth team commit twice as many flagrant penalties and 3 times as many mild penalties as their own team. Princeton Dartmouth 2-3. Dartmouth students, on the other hand, recorded an approximately equal number of penalties by both teams. Dartmouth. While the truth probably lies somewhere in between, the researchers concluded that it was as if the two groups of students saw a different game. Page 47 Number 7. In the real estate industry, location is all important in determining the market value of properties. A good house in a slum district will not fetch a high price, no matter how good it is. But how is it that some locations come to be better than others? Usually, it starts out with a natural advantage. One area may be conveniently placed near to major businesses, or it may be close to the sea or a river, or it may be slightly hilly, allowing good views. These natural advantages are enough that people will seek them out and pay slightly more for them than they would for other properties. When some properties attract elevated prices, they raise the prices of other properties nearby. In this way, the average prices in one area will drift to become higher than in neighboring areas. People naturally assume that the area with higher prices must be better to live in. So the process escalates. Page 47, number 8. Studies have indicated that a great many species have some capacity to track the mathematical properties of objects in their environment. In one experiment, the psychologists Russell Church and Warren Meck exposed rats to both tones and flashes of light. Russell Church, Warren Meck. The rats were initially trained to press the left lever when they heard 2 tones and the right lever when they heard 4 tones. The rats were also taught to press the left lever in response to 2 flashes of light and the right lever in response to 4 flashes of light. What would the rats do when presented with 1 tone and 1 flash of light? They immediately pressed the left lever, indicating that they had coded the stimulus as 2 events, and they immediately pressed the right lever in response to 2 tones and 2 flashes of light, indicating that they had coded that stimulus as 4 events. The end. Good job.